visual artist. This is an expression of mine that I produced in lieu of a literary manuscript that I began working on in 1993. And I've been a visual artist all my life. I just happened to come to my mind a little while ago to speak about that when our presentator before me was presenting the things. I've been a visual artist all my life. That's all I've ever been. I was struck in the eye by a stone when I was playing in 2nd grade, and in lieu of the fact that I was in my physiological developmental years, the optometrist that was managing my case said, well, we're going to have to put a patch on both your eyes because we don't want one eye to outdevelop the other. So in the morning I woke up, I could see. At night, when I went to bed, actually I didn't go to bed, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, I couldn't see. And I really wanted to see. And I was just waiting for the day to come along where they would take the patches off. By the way, I didn't know I was going to introduce this portion into my speech today, so I'll move it forward. And I became a visual artist. I work in an abstract surreal genre. I've had shows around town, and I intend to have more. I sculpture, I paint, I teach art. Mr. Coghlan that you saw at the start of the symposium is my boss. And I've taught art for quite a number of years. Anyways, today I want to tell you about a matter that's of great interest to me. Robert asked me when I originally emailed him, he said, okay, great concept, but how does that all tie into the symposium? I mean, how are you going to take what you're doing and put it together in a thematic way that would connect it to the nature, the purpose, and the point of the symposium? And he got me to think, and I said, he's right, I got to do that. So I had to send him back another email. I think I got it together to the best of my ability. Anyways, in 1993, a concept came to me, and it was requesting an alternating medium. I was conceptualizing at the time why biological life, why our lives are activated, and what activates us. What gets us to go over there and get a cookie, or get a little drink, or to be here today. There have been a number of interesting speeches this morning, and if I may be so bold as to say that I think they all connect very well to a theory that I'm about to propose today for the first time since 1993. As fate would have it, pardon me for reading from my notes, on a sunny day there in 1993, close to my home, someone passed me on the sidewalk, and they were wearing a t-shirt that read the word pleasure in kind of like a bright, pinky, orangey color. And I saw that word, it just said pleasure. The t-shirt didn't say anything else, it just said pleasure. And I think, pretty much so, now here's what I did. I went home and I typed the words on my computer, not this one, another one, a biography of the word pleasure on my computer. And I became a visual artist utilizing literature as a media to express a concept, which is altogether new for me. I couldn't ever imagine myself as a visual artist writing. I didn't feel like I had the authority or even the right to do that. I was always a painter. People knew me as a painter. And there I was writing, building my ego upon my writing, and just started writing. I think, by the way, that t-shirt was for a cigarette company, Newport Cigarette Company. They had a advertising situation many years ago. It used to be on billboards. I used to paint, by the way, those really large billboards, the really, really big ones that you see out there on the Palmetto Expressway on 995, the really big ones. I was the guy that painted those all around town, from the Keys to Palm Beach. in hundreds of them when they used to be hand-painted. I think that t-shirt was from a cigarette company, Newport Cigarettes, and it just used to say pleasure. That's all it says. That was their catchphrase, their word, their logo, whatever it was, their advertisement, their understanding of their customer, if you will. That was 1993. 770 pages, an abstraction, and the balance of my life afforded into bringing my concept into fruition ago. For 21 and a half years, I wrote referencing our species, Homo sapiens, primates, activation while we are in pursuits of our pleasurable interests. I typed and I typed all night. I'm going to thank my wife here in a little while. She's just been, she's a wonderful wife from the start, and to put up with me from this. I think you hear a lot of people praise their spouses when they come to realizations of their effort. I can't do that enough. My friends as well. I'll get around to that. I began writing this manuscript which had two unnamed documenters who take a pleasurable run, pardon me for my vernacular there. They circumnavigate the globe 4 times through all time eras and observe and document in objective form those that they observe while they are in pursuits of pleasure. In other words, these two guys, this man and this woman, they run around the world 4 times. They're nude, and they see people involved in pursuits of pleasure, and they document it in a very objective form. And that's how the manuscript takes place. That's how it forms. I say in objective form because I didn't want to introduce my own subjective interest of pleasure into it, so it's written in objectivity, if you will. I hope you guys are staying with me in this, by the way. They document pleasurable components such as those obtained by light, which these are kind of bright in my eyes, food, water, the arts, sexuality, nature, theology, science, friendship, and on, and even more so on and on. I found myself a visual artist writing literature and expressing for the art of art's sake alone. And while well-tuned verses portrayed my concept, and indeed the literature, thankfully enough on my behalf, for me, indeed the literature enabled an expression in beautiful form, the concept that I was trying to address, it is, something remarkable happened along the 21st and a half to 22nd year of writing. I thought I was just going to write a book. I really did. Just like I paint a painting, I thought I was just going to write a book. It turned out I was starting to write a manuscript. When I began reading my work, what appeared to be conventions of a theory began to emerge within the understandings of my work. I think I started to identify that I was writing a theory. And it was, is, and is to my best interest to pursue such theory. And I'm in fact pursuing that theory. Pursuing so much so that a theory, and just let me state that again, because I know that sometimes, may I say this, I feel a little silly when I walk around and say, yeah, I have theory. I wrote that on Facebook and everybody was, let me say that again, I have a theory, which I stand by the way, developed in my work. In fact, a theoretical statement formed. When that happened, my work took on an entirely other consequence. My thoughts were like fully arrested, and I don't mean that in a dramatic way. I mean, I was like fully arrested when I began to understand that I was writing towards a theory. What I have been writing about was that of how biological life was progenitated into existence. How all biological life, including our own, is activated, and how our species and all biological life's evolvement will, in the future, be navigated. Our evolution will parallel that. It has, by the way, it is, and it will parallel that of our pleasurable interests. Indeed, and this is my theory, life arose, is activated upon, and will be navigated by pursuits of pleasure. It is that very premise as to why we are gathered here today. We came to support a family member or friend, to listen in on some new concepts. It is why the thermostat, there must be a thermostat in this room someplace. I think it's back there on the wall, I don't know. But it is why that thermostat back there on that wall is adjusted to just the right temperature, the Goldilocks temperature, that allows us just the right pleasurable sensation. Not too hot, not too warm. It is why the texture of your clothes are the texture of your clothes. It's why the seats that you're sitting on are formed in the way that they're formed. These all satisfy us to the best efficiency and to our pleasurable interest. The premise as to why we find pleasure in the people and places that we do, and as I mentioned before, on, and so much, very more on and on. I have 770 pages and 10 minutes to address, so it is, in fact, my theory, the matter that crafts my theory's design. As stated, biological life is activated upon pursuits of pleasure. It is. In knowing such, there is a purpose of utility. This is why I mentioned Robert's email with I before. There is a purpose of utility in my work. Like, how do we use this? That is pleasure's agency upon biological life, and the utility of knowing why it is activated. Well, and I'm just going to reference somebody. I'm not dropping a name here, but I'm just going to reference somebody that you all know well. While I accept many theoretical works, scientific and otherwise, theological, Darwinian included, for example, on the antiquity of man, I do think science has been somewhat careless with the cause of pleasure's agency upon our biological evolution. If not careless, then it's been altogether remiss. Because pleasure is like not granted the level of interest that I feel that it really should be granted. I know that in Darwinian evolution, he talks about the physiological development, and I think others in this room perhaps could examine and express his work better than I, but I think he was very much remiss to the causation of pleasure's agency and how species, including our own Homo sapiens, have developed along the lines paralleling pleasure. To tie then into the theme of this symposium, thank you, Robert, a fuller understanding of its cause is then at hand in order to turn to and advance the cause of research in terms of such things as disease, which are in fact biological forms. I assume greatly. I'm not a biologist by any means. In fact, I'm an artist. Such as cancer, carcinogenic cancer, that is. See that? I had a bit of it taken out of me not too long ago. My wife still thinks I'm beautiful. I theorize cancer itself is activated by the same pleasurable agency that activates us. If you know a felon's pleasurable habits, you would put yourself out in front of him and in turn help to catch him. With further understandings of that life is activated upon pursuits of pleasure, I think, I'm not even theorizing here, I'm just thinking, that such understanding help us, help scientists, perhaps not myself, but scientists, catch cancer. I knew that some of you were going to go over there and get a cookie today. I knew that some of you were going to go over there and get a little drink, because I know how we're activated on it. We got a little pleasureful foods over there, little fun foods. Same thing with cancer. We're fun foods to cancer. Our species' interest in development of theology, may I say this, even if there's theological-oriented persons in the audience today, is inadvertent fulfillment of pleasurable desire. While it may feel to those whom are set in theological practice right, and I'm not being subjective here, it should be known we are all in actuality fulfilling a pleasurable desire. Our species long ago needed answers, if not comfort, simple comfort of knowing things. And in lieu of such, we tapped into that interest in fulfilling that pleasurable desire, and theology arose to many extents. If one walks by a place of worship, I got to do this now. When I walk by a place of worship and folks are inside worshiping, I have a confession to make. I know why they're in there worshiping. They may disagree with me, but I think they're worshiping because effectively they're fulfilling a pleasurable desire. They would probably say no. No. I don't know what they'd say because they never really did that. But. And let's just say this. Robert, I'm not trying to fix the world here because I can't. I only have 2 hands and 2 feet and 1 mind. But should conflicting factions come to know their theology was initially developed as a need to fulfill a desire, pleasurable desire, perhaps that would alleviate some tension. My dear old mother, who has long since been passed away, and I wish was here to hear my speech today, she would disagree with me. Which is nothing new, but she would disagree with me. And I would say, listen, Mom, you know, while I appreciate your love and care and interest in me, I do think that you really need to think about what you're doing there. Because that dogma that you pursue is antiquated. And if you think about it, our species long ago needed to fulfill a pleasurable desire, and that's what you have been doing here today, or with your interest in it. My father as well, and many of my friends and family. Keep in mind, this is theoretical in nature. And for such matter, the same for atheism. It's the same because it fulfills the same pleasurable interest. Atheists find pleasure in reasoning over faith and thereby accept its tenets. Let me ask you this. Is it not true? Is it not true that when we originally discovered fire and used it to warm our hands, the sensation was not one of pleasure? Was it not? And today, when elements such as the wild elements of nature thrill us, watch animals on the plains of Serengeti or in the jungles of Brazil, are we not amazed and delighted and wishful? Are those not aspects of pleasure? Is the agency of pleasure itself not evident in that? The speaker before me, or 2 speakers before, I wish she would have stayed here for a little while, because I do address in my book to great length the causation of pleasure's agency upon beauty and how we are activated to pursue beauty. Forgive me, I cannot speak on behalf of women, but I find that women pursue those interests, I think, more than do men. We are gathered here in this venue today because pleasurable desires in history were fulfilled. Stay with me on this. Actions, some of them loving, between our mother and father, and where some pleasurable desire was being fulfilled, led to my invention. That very moment, my mother and father conjoined. Pleasure, its agency was amongst them, and at that moment, like the Higgs boson was discovered, here I am, 4 years later. Now, I want to understand your very being here is as a consequence of a pleasurable desire being fulfilled. It is the same agency, and this is where I get a little involved. It is the same agency that was the original, initial progenitor of life, of biological life, and as evidence we are as we are activated here today. Is it not? Life arose in lieu of desire to fulfill pleasure. Indeed, our very lives arose and can be well evidenced through extrapolation if we take a point from today and extrapolate all the way back where pleasure's agency of life activated it into existence. In sum, I'm a visual artist. These are one of the same expressions. My writing, 770 pages I have here, and this artwork. It references pleasure's agency. It's an abstraction, as you know, as you may know. Pleasure's agency has been with us in all biological life and was the agency originally progenitating life into existence. We may evidence pleasure's cause in all of our activity, evident in other species' activity. Of course, I'm not just speaking about human. If you've ever petted the back of a cat's ear, you'll see that a cat experiences pleasure. I like swimming with dolphins, and name it, all biological life. And I don't mean just that upper level of species. Pardon me if I don't speak so eloquently upon biology, but I can speak eloquently upon the arts. It is the agency of cause leading to the continuance of life. It's what causes us to progenitate. I think she was saying procreate. I'm using the word progenitate. Species knowing they will carry on into prosperity is pleasurable. Such agency, moreover, is moreover, I should say, than will or instinct. Pleasure itself provides a positive charge to will or instinct. May I then make it clear? Life arose with pleasure's agency. It activates it and will navigate its evolution.
Question: when you say apply the word agency, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's a really charming question. Thank you, Robert. There have been many theories that have evolved, including theological theories, the intelligent life theory, or intelligent design theory, and things of that nature. I had to vary and balance my thought and choose that word very selectively because there is something known as a pleasure principle. How many people are familiar with the pleasure principle? Please don't ask me to describe it at length because I'm not a student of Freud, but I know a little bit about it. When I say agency, I mean the causation, the act, and the will to empower another object, another item or interest or contingency. It's contingent upon one item or another. It is its agency, the agency of pleasure. And I think my concept is intricate in its design of its words, so I had to really challenge the English language to find these words. And
Yeah.
if you come up with a better term than agency, I'm happy to aspire to it. Thank you.
The language is a problem sometimes.
I agree. That's why I'm a visual artist. In fact, I've never used language. I need language when I speak with my wife, but this is my language. It's always been my language. I understand this. This communicates very well to me. Of course, it's abstract in nature, but I can only agree with you on that point. I think that's a very common understanding that you're expressing, that language and words and so forth, semantics, if you will. But I think agency is what I really want to say. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you're saying that, like evolution, driving force of evolution is the pursuit of pleasure, correct?
I'm saying that evolution has paralleled biological life's pleasurable desire and the pursuits of yes.
Okay. So I understand how, like, upper level species, humans, our early ancestors, hominids, even cats, dogs, we get pleasure from sex, from food. I understand that. But if we keep going further back to, like, say, single cell organisms, don't we need a mind to experience pleasure? So is it the end result of evolution is then starts with pleasure, like pleasures come later on, or could pleasure be, seen from a single celled organism if we go that far back?
Yeah, that actually makes me happy that you asked that, because I've given that a lot of thought over the past 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if there is a cutoff point, like a time and a space where to say, okay, you know what, this level of biological activity can't possibly have a sensation, if you will, of pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
But this can. I don't know where to draw that point.
Right.
In fact, it's my theory that there is no point.
Mm-hmm.
That even single cell organisms, in their single cell organism manner, have the very same agency that we do that involves them to move life forward. I think so. If you ask me to break out a microscope and take a look and show it to you, I don't know that I would be able to or not, but I do think that, yes, to answer your question, yes, single cell organism, there's some I can't say some of those names that I've read in my literature. I think that they all experience in their forms of pleasure. Yes?
I think single cell organisms or any organism has a purpose. So like a parasite's purpose is to be parasitic, and so in that sense, it would most likely, because that's its motivation and that's what its purpose is to do, that's where it takes pleasure from. So I guess that would be a way of explaining that if single cell organisms could. But that's an interesting question.
Thank you. I see another hand in the back, and I will address those questions. Regretfully, I can't turn this into a biology class. I could turn it into an art class because I am an art teacher, but I would love to be able to know more about that. In fact, my manuscript is waiting for completion, contingent upon some of the things that I wanted to hear and know through this symposium. Thank you. In the back, please.
Just to tell a lady behind a survival status that is maybe hidden behind the pleasure. And as you, through the process of extrapolating, as you mentioned before, that pleasure may have been initial, what do you call it,
Progenitator.
of life.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes, I did say that. I did say that that same agency that's with us today, you drive down the street, you're going to see a Burger King, a McDonald's, you're going to get a Coca-Cola, all of those things that activate us to do. If you take a point,
Well,
go ahead.
So for those who drive to Burger King, probably will not, driven by this, their present pleasure may have shorter lifespan than someone who drives to another.
That is correct.
So, like I said, maybe your theory behind survival this might, show us an expansion of how that coexists.
That's okay. I'm doing.
So.
Yes.
I have a question that's on the spiritual side.
Sure.
If we're
Get theological side?
spiritual.
Spiritual. Okay, I'll try to manage with
Bring
spiritual.
theology into it. If we are spiritual beings coming to this earth, okay?
If.
If,
Okay.
and I think we are.
Okay.
And we're having a human experience.
Okay.
Don't you think we need pleasure to, order to balance out the hardship and suffering we have to go through to develop as spiritual beings?
Oh, yes, I do think that. Very much so. I think that we need to have, in fact, if we didn't have such agency of pleasure, I know that she spoke of beauty a little while ago, but if there was no such causation as pleasure's agency amongst us, what would we be doing at all? If Coca-Cola didn't taste good, I don't drink Coca-Cola, but we wouldn't drink it. And if there was no pleasure in life, in fact, those who have depression, from what I understand, don't experience pleasure as they used to before. I had that many years ago. The doctor said, do you feel pleasure in such and such as you did before? And I said, no. So they want to know about that agency. Let me just say this about spirituality. I think spirituality within itself provides a great sensation of pleasure. I'm not concerning myself in that comment with its vanity or its reality. I do in my manuscript, although my manuscript is objective nature, but it is absolutely there. And there is a pleasurable interest that is fulfilled when those who participate in such matters as spirituality participate. And for that matter, I think there's a great deal of spirituality in this world. Did I answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'd like to sum up. Thank you. I'm over. Yeah. Yes. I could bring this into contemporary society, and I don't want to, but I feel it's necessary. Our coming election.
Let's take Alton Road, Miami Beach, and
Yeah, let's take Alton Road. Okay. This coming election, if you've been involved with it, and I'm not political minded by the way, is balancing on a particular person's pursuit of pleasurable desires some years ago, and the way it's being portrayed in the media. And so, in reality, our next presidency, and I'm going to say this as clear as I can, our next presidency may very well be hinged, predicated upon those pleasurable desires sought after in the way that that particular individual sought after them. I don't want to end on a political note. I will say this, though, that it is my theory that life arose, is activated upon, and will be navigated by pursuits of pleasure.